I was born in Mannheim the 19th of March, 1905. It was a Sunday, and just at 12 o'clock noon, and the bells of a church close by were ringing. It is said in Germany that to be born on a Sunday is a good omen.
Speer's father was an architect. So was his grandfather. His mother, a woman of grace and considerable wealth. The Speer family lacked little. Young Albert grew up in an imposing luxury flat designed by his father. There were maids, a chauffeur, and a French governess. Later, they moved to Heidelberg, a fairy tale town on the Neckar River.
Heidelberg, for a young boy, as a whole, as an old town, is also something which is fostering romanticism for a young man.
But what were the predominant enjoyments? What was your favorite form of play?
I loved when my way to school was going via the ruins of the Heidelberg Castle, and I enjoyed it very much to see the Heidelberg Castle in all the different lights, in the early morning, in the thunderstorm, or in the evening, and or in a rainy day, obviously in the fog. And I still remember this impression.
Since the 13th century, Heidelberg was the home of scholars and poets whose work influenced the intellectual life of Germany. Now the 20th century, August 1914.
The war started in 1914 when I was 9 years old, and I remember that I was quite aware of what is happening, and then we were already then here in Heidelberg in this house quite often, and one could hear in the night times the thunder of the front when the wind was favorable to it, and I didn't then like to be in my wonderful warm bed, and I went out and was laying out on the floor, on the hard floor, to sleep on the hard floor, just as for sympathy for those who are suffering outside and have not a normal bed, which was of course craziness, but it was the idea of a young boy.
Was there much political discussion in your house in those early days?
No, that wasn't. Our house was more or less apolitical.
I'm curious to know, because of the role that the Jewish population of Germany played in what happened later, whether there were Jews in your friendship circle at that time, much of a Jewish population in Heidelberg.
Yes, we had, in our class, we had 2 or 3 Jews, and with one I was a good friend. I'm still corresponding with him. He's now in the United States. And there was no anti-Semitism in our class, not visibly.
Absolutely none? It was simply not a factor in life?
Not, we talking now about this time, about the Jews.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, there was none.
Did you ever hear other people using derogatory language about Jews, referring to them as kikes or any other?
Not in school, not in the school.
In the streets, around the town at all? Was it a factor? Yeah. Again, you know, thinking about my own experience, there was a good deal of vulgar anti-Semitism that one could hear around.
Yeah, but not in this. It was a high school, and the people in this, the scholars of the pupils of the school, were quite of from better families. I remember quite well that I volunteered as a schoolboy for the Red Cross when the troops were coming back from the collapse of the Western Front. They were looking quite bad, and the uniforms were in a bad shape too, and they were disillusioned, and all those things I still remember, and we had to carry to them some soup and give them some coffee or so, and I like to do it. And but at the whole, this impression stayed with me, this of a beaten army which is coming home to the homeland.
What was your feeling about that? Did you
I was very sad. I don't know if I cried, but I certainly was close to crying.
Did that persist for a long time, in your recollection?
Well, you know how it is with a boy. He is now in such a mood, and then he is gay again. I think I was the same, and and school was going on, and I had to learn my lessons, and so I think it was not forgotten, but it was something which was shoved in the subconscious. And
as your study of history suggested that there might have been people at the who developed the Versailles Treaty, who, had they been more influential, like Wilson, for example,
would have been
might have made a less damaging treaty.
Yeah, I was old enough to realize that by the Versailles Treaty, I was thought responsible and guilty for the starting of World War I. This was one of the clauses of the Versailles Treaty, that the German people is responsible for it. And what meant people? I was a part of the
You
people.
felt that personally?
Yes.
Yeah. Even though you were a child?
Yes, I can't say when, but I felt it. Maybe it was when I was a student, but I felt it and felt that it's not possible. That is a thing which is not right. I felt unjustly treated.
Berlin, 1925. Carefree and happy, despite inflation. For a young student of architecture, a city of distractions.
In Berlin was more the life youth you were describing, and I was quite enthusiastic about it too. I remember that I was once in a concert with a band of, or orchestra of Walt Whitman.
Oh, yes.
This, which was with big trumpets and was not Whitman?
Paul Whiteman.
Paul Whiteman.
Paul Whiteman.
No, yeah, other one is a poet.
Yeah.
Pardon. And this was really some experience.
In 1927, Speer passed his examinations, was named assistant professor of architecture, and proposed marriage to Margaret, a childhood sweetheart from an old Heidelberg family. The young couple settled down in Berlin. He was teaching at the Berlin Institute of Technology, meager salary, not very many private commissions. And then one day, egged on by his students, he came out here to a beer hall in the Hassenheider Road to hear a speech by the leader of a new and growing political party. And that man, of course, was Adolf Hitler.
Die intellektuellen Schichten haben mir den Mut gegeben, dieses gigantische Werk zu beginnen.
I have seen him on the posters with his in the uniform, and he looked quite a little bit ridiculous, I should say. But there he was well clad in a dark suit, and he was more lecturing than shouting.
Bin einst selbst unter euch gestanden. Bin in 4,5 Jahren Krieg hier mitten unter euch gewesen.
I don't remember really what he said. Just a few weeks ago I found some speech to students he held in another occasion a few weeks before.
In unseren Augen muss der deutsche Junge der Zukunft.
And I think it was similar to what he said to us. The Germans still are the strongest people in Europe, and that they should have a leading part again.
How did that strike you? I mean, that really is, in a sense, racist talk. Were you responsive to it at that time?
I think yes. I think all the experiences I had as a young boy when the defeat was in 1918 was coming back to me, and all the shame which I was feeling as a German when I saw those rotten soldiers coming back was still active in me. And when now somebody was telling this all can be replaced by a strong Germany, that this was making me at least thinking about it.
The 28-year-old architect found himself standing here in Munich's Prinzregentenplatz outside this building with a satchel full of sketches under his arm. And he walked up to this door and prepared to meet Adolf Hitler face to face for the first time.
So as when he rang the bell or so, and then somebody opened us as when I was showed in, and then there was Hitler at his table, and which still puzzles me nowadays, and did puzzle me then, was that he was just cleaning a pistol. There was a pistol on the desk which was taken in parts, and he was obviously cleaning it. And he asked, what you want? Very short. I said, well, there are the plans, and he was informed, obviously, from Hesse that I'm coming. Well, he said, well, show them to me. And then I showed them, declared, made my explanations, and he looked at them and said, all right.
Just like that?
Yeah, and then I was dismissed.
Did you feel that you were in the presence of a very vital, powerful person?
No.
Not at all?
Not this time, afterwards, yes. But yeah. And the first time when I was seeing him in this audience too. But it was striking me, it still strikes me, that this mighty man was leaning his pistol, or that this flat is so small and the furniture are very bourgeois, and there was a certain smell, a kitchen smell in the whole flat. I still remember, because that shocked me. You must remember, I was coming from a well-off family, and the household of us was perfect, and now I was with the Chancellor of Germany, and it was obviously everything was lacking.
It was staged by Albert Speer.
I was with my car going over night time, and I saw these searchlights exercising, and I thought it's a wonderful idea to use them. And I asked first Göring how I can get to those searchlights, and he said, no, you can't get them. And then I asked Hitler, and he said, wonderful idea, splendid, you get them. And so I got, 130 or 140 searchlights were assembled around this rally field, and they were all directed vertical to the sky. But the amazing effect was, because then the skies were going through, clouds were going through slowly, and it was wonderful. I don't know if you have the feeling if in an opera when it's a high soprano is singing, you get back your spine, yeah. And that was what happened then when I saw this.
Sadly, you've all gone completely crazy.
And so these centerpieces, this big dome and the Arc of Triumph, were the beginning and the end, in the perspective, the end of a big avenue which had width of 120 meters, much more than the Champs-Élysées in Paris.
All of that would have to wait. In January 1938, Hitler gave his architect a pressing assignment: build a new chancellery, a building of majestic proportions, something visiting diplomats would not forget.
And leading to the rooms where he would have made reception for ambassadors or for statesmen visiting him, was some hallways which were succeeding each other, and I think it was more than half a kilometer which they had to go by foot on polished marble. And Hitler loved this thing, and he was saying, wonderful, wonderful, what you did again, and so on. This was, of course, for me stimulation to do more and more and more.
Hitler and Speer's combined megalomania startled fellow architects. The widow of Paul Ludwig Trost, a leading architect himself, often was astonished.
She said that if Hitler said to Trost, I want a building of 100 meters, the Trost would go away and think about it and come back and say, well, my Führer, I think it should be 96 meters for technical reasons, or so. And then if Hitler would say to Speer, I want a building of 100 meters, Speer would say, my Führer, let's make it 200 meters. And Hitler would say, you're my man.
Yeah.
Had you heard that story before?
No, I didn't hear, but...
she says she told it to Hitler, and that Hitler laughed. I thought it was very funny.
But there is some truth behind, because I was a young man, and I was often doing much more than Hitler wanted to. I was on the way to be, well, one of the most famous architects in Europe, if I would have succeeded.
In the world.